The bougainvillea flowers in Abuja were beginning to bloom, but Ngozi Okafor couldn't feel their beauty. At 25, she sat stiffly in her family's grand parlor, dressed in a pale pink lace iro and buba picked by her stepmother. Elegant, yes, but certainly not her style. She felt more like a well-packaged bride in a magazine than an actual woman with dreams. Across from her sat Lee Min-jae, calm, impeccably dressed in a navy blue suit. His eyes were kind but unreadable. He bowed politely to her parents, his posture full of formality. Ngozi's father, Chief Obiora Okafor, beamed with pride as he discussed business with Min-jae's father, Ambassador Lee Dae-hyun, who had flown in from Seoul. This marriage wasn't about love. It was about legacy, reputation, and international partnership. Ngozi clenched her hands in her lap, her fingernails digging into her palms. She had pleaded with her father to reconsider. She had dreams. Of writing, of traveling, of falling deeply, foolishly in love. But her voice had been silenced with one chilling sentence: a daughter's duty is to protect the family name. Would the bride and groom like to take a walk in the compound? Ambassador Lee suggested, smiling warmly. Her father nodded. Yes, let them know each other a little. As they stepped into the well-manicured garden, filled with hibiscus and frangipani, Ngozi didn't speak at first. The soft crunch of gravel under their feet was the only sound between them. Finally, Min-jae broke the silence. You don't want this, do you? Ngozi's eyes widened. She turned to look at him. There was no judgment in his voice, only quiet understanding. She hesitated. What gave me away? He offered a small smile. Your eyes. They look like they're screaming to be anywhere else. A small, bitter laugh escaped her lips. Wouldn't you run too, if your life was being traded like yam at the market? Min-jae sighed and looked up at the baobab tree beside them. I didn't come here to get married. I came here for a cultural exchange program. My family ambushed me with this arrangement. But saying no comes with a price. Ngozi nodded slowly. I know the price too well. In that moment, under the shade of Abuja skies, two strangers, one Nigerian, one Korean, found unlikely comfort in each other's discontent. They walked the rest of the compound in silence, but the silence no longer weighed on their shoulders. Back inside, the families toasted to the upcoming engagement. Ngozi smiled on cue, but her heart was in knots. She didn't know it yet, but that simple question, you don't want this, do you? Was the matchstick that would soon set fire to everything she'd once believed she had to accept. Over the next few weeks, Ngozi and Min-jae were encouraged to spend time together. As if chemistry could be summoned like event planners. Every outing was scheduled. Brunch at a quiet cafe in Maitama, tours of Zuma Rock, photo shoots in traditional attire, where Ngozi was instructed to pose beside Min-jae like they were already writing their own fairy tale. But underneath the staged interactions and orchestrated smiles, something real was beginning to grow. Min-jae noticed things others didn't. How Ngozi's laughter always sounded slightly forced. How she never spoke about her future as hers. And Ngozi, in return, began to see through his clean-cut perfection. He was kind, yes, but guarded, like a man who learned to survive by pretending. One rainy afternoon, they sat under a large umbrella outside a cozy bookshop cafe in Jabi. Their chaperones had wandered off after too much palm wine, giving them a rare chance to speak freely. Min-jae picked up a dog-eared book from the table, Letters to a Young Poet. You read this? He asked. I carry it everywhere, Ngozi said softly. It reminds me there's more to life than yes, Daddy, and thank you, Ma. You right. I used to. Until my father said writers bring no prestige to the Okafor name. Min-jae looked at the book, then at her. I wanted to become a photojournalist. Studied in Busan. But my father pushed me into diplomacy. So now I pretend. Maybe we're both pretending, Ngozi murmured. Maybe we don't have to, at least not with each other. That night, after dropping her off, Min-jae sent her a photo. A candid shot of her looking out the car window. Rain streaking the glass, her face soft and thoughtful. The subject line read, You, unfiltered. Ngozi stared at the photo. No one had ever seen her like that. not even herself. She didn't know when it shifted, but the man she had been forced to entertain was no longer a stranger. He was becoming the only person who truly saw her. As Abuja's rainy season slipped into Harmattan, their bond grew. Quiet, cautious, tender. They never said they were in love, but their silences turned sacred, and their glances lingered longer than they should. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. One sweltering night, during a grand dinner at the Okafor estate, a surprise guest arrived, Professor Khalid Ayula, an old friend of Chief Okafor. He was introduced to Minjay, but instead of polite nods, he stared. You? The professor said slowly, stepping closer. You're Eunha's son, aren't you? She studied with me in South Korea. Roomed with my late cousin, Yachechi. Minjay's expression faltered. Yes, he said carefully. My mother studied here. Then, Minjay looked away. I know enough. That night, Ngozi cornered him. What did he mean? Know what? He hesitated. My mother didn't just study here. She fell in love with a Nigerian man. But he abandoned her because his family wouldn't accept her. Ngozi felt her throat go dry. That man, Minjay nodded, was your father. She staggered. What? I came to Nigeria for the program, but I agreed to this engagement because I wanted to see him. To understand. Ngozi's voice shook. So this was revenge? No. It started that way. But then I met you. And you weren't the spoiled, shallow girl I expected. You were, you. You should have told me. I was going to. I swear. You sound just like him, making excuses. He reached for her, but she stepped back. Don't. That night, for the first time in weeks, they didn't message. The silence was deafening. What neither knew was that Madame Chinyer, her stepmother, had overheard everything. Always eager to control the narrative, Chinyer acted fast. She arranged a new engagement to Honorable Emeka Nwosu's son, a political golden boy. The alliance would secure clout and erase the shame of Ngozi's scandal. One evening, she was summoned to the parlor. The Nwosus were already waiting, and pressmen had been tipped. You've embarrassed us enough, Chinyer whispered. Time to redeem this family. Minjay heard about it through diplomatic circles. Rumors flew. Ngozi dumped the Korean for a politician. His own father called him back to Seoul. He refused. He came, uninvited, dressed in full hanbok, interrupting the engagement party. I'm sorry to disrupt, he said, bowing. But I came to return something. He held up Ngozi's red notebook. I found it near the cafe. I read every poem, every line about a girl trapped behind tradition, a girl who wanted to run. Ngozi's lips parted, trembling. You said no one sees the real you. I do, and I love her. Madame Chinyer leapt up. Leave this place, you Asian parasite. Ngozi rose, voice quivering. I won't marry Emeka. You will do as I say. No, she whispered. I'm done living in fear. She walked to Minjay and took his hand. Flashbulbs exploded. Park Emeka stormed out. Chinyer fainted. But Ngozi stood still, her head high, fingers locked with Minjay's. The scandal was instant. Heiress chooses love over power, blazed across Nigerian and Korean headlines. The Okafor name took a blow. Chinyer vanished from society pages. Ngozi was finally free. Her father summoned her. Alone in his study, he sat beside an old black and white photo. Himself with Eunha, barely visible but unforgettable. I failed you, he said quietly. And her. Tears filled her eyes. If you can forgive me, he added, then maybe we can finally be a family again. With his reluctant blessing, she and Minjay were free. Months later, under the golden canopies of Obudu Mountain Resort, they held a small wedding. Ngozi wore ivory lace, and Minjay wore a gold-accented hanbok. Friends from Korea and Nigeria attended. Cultures merged. Hearts healed. No media. No pretense. Just vows whispered under the sun. I once came here seeking answers, Minjay said as he placed a ring on her finger. But I found you, and I found home.